have a lot of scrap wood. Because every time I'm done with a big project, I end up with a pile of scrap wood. And I've been wanting to build a workbench. Because while I have this very nice countertop over here, I can't move it around and I don't have access to the back, which limits me sometimes. And since I have such a small workshop, my workbench can't be too big, which might also limit me. So I scoured the internet for the perfect solution and I landed on modular workbenches. My plan is to build 2 workbenches out of scrap wood that are small, but that I can attach them together to make them wider or longer, maybe even an L shape. Easy, right? That's twisted, that's twisted. I messed up my pattern. Nope. Yeah, let's just say I had my challenges. So the first thing I gotta do is find the biggest piece of plywood I have so I can determine how big the top is gonna be. So I have this. This one's 22.5. So it looks like the depth is gonna be 22.5 inches. I would like it to at least be 24. I gotta work with what I have here. So we're gonna use this one and I gotta remove wallpaper from it. There was a few screws that I had to remove and then I ripped out all the wallpaper. The trash can's this way. That wasn't too bad. It's sticky though, so it looks like I'm gonna have to sand it, but let me cut it down to size first. This was the widest piece of plywood I had, and since I was going to use it as the top, it would determine the size of the workbench. So I got the size of the workbench, and you know me, I like to do my little drawings so that I can picture what I'm doing. And I need a lot of 2x4s. And that's where I think I'm gonna run into a problem because everything I have, as far as scrap wood, it's small. So they're almost useless, especially to a project like this where I need longer pieces. Nope. I have a problem. I don't have enough long pieces that are 2x4s. And it's not even close, like, like I only have these 2 long pieces of 2x4s. Everything else is so much shorter than I need. So I'm gonna have to get creative here and figure out what to do. Because the goal is to use my scrap wood. If I have to go to the store and buy new wood, it defeats the whole purpose of me doing this. And I'm already working up a sweat. So let me tell you about Lumi, which is today's sponsor. Lumi is a whole body deodorant that was invented by an OBGYN, Shannon Klingman. Not just to cover your underarm odors, but to cover all body odors. For a while, I didn't know that whole body deodorants were a thing, and then I started using Lumi, and I'm pretty impressed with the results. Lumi stops the odor before it starts. It's clinically proven to block body odor all day and continues controlling BO for 72 hours. It doesn't stain your clothes, and my favorite is the new easy to apply 360-degree spray. I actually spray it on my feet because they used to smell really bad after a whole day of work. Lumi also has these wipes that are great if you're out and about all day or just got done in the gym and you need to freshen up. These are perfect. Lumi is skin safe, baking soda free, cruelty free, vegan, pH optimized to use anywhere on your body, and paraben free. And it comes in 8 different scents. So which one's your favorite?
I like the toasted coconut because it makes me smell like a cookie.
You do smell like a cookie.
Did you just smell me?
If you've been watching my channel, then you know that I work outside a lot, I sweat a lot, and I've been putting Lumi to the test every day. And I'm really impressed with Lumi products. So if you want to try them out, Lumi Starter Pack Bundle is a great deal for new customers. It comes with a full-size stick deodorant, a cream deodorant tube or spray deodorant, and 2 products like the wipes or mini body wash. You get free shipping in the US, and just for my followers, Lumi is offering an extra $5 off when you click the link in the description and enter code DIYTIFF at checkout. That's a deal over 40% off. So go check it out, and thank you Lumi for sponsoring this video. So I spent a while thinking and looking online, and I think what I'm gonna do is a half lap splice joint. I just learned that. I'm basically boing. I'm basically joining 2 boards together to make a longer board, and that should be strong enough. But I have another problem. That's twisted. That's twisted. This one's actually good. This one's the worst, and it's like the longest piece that I have. I don't even know if I'll be able to use that, but I'm gonna try to straighten them as much as I can using the planer. Hello. Long time no see. While I got the next part ready, I asked Tony to get the hot glue gun from my craft cabinet. Dude! You found something else that wasn't the hot glue gun. That was not the gun I was looking for. I'm glad you're having fun. 1, 2, 3. I cut the longer 2x4s down closer to the size I needed because it's easier to work with shorter pieces. To fix the twisted 2x4s, I use a flat board as a reference and added shims to keep it stable. And to prevent the board from shifting, I secured it with hot glue. As I ran it through the planer, you can see it start shaving down the high spots. I had to pass it through enough times for the top to become a flat surface. Using the flat board as reference ensures that the top levels out properly. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't get this on the first try. I even brought out my smaller planer to make some minor adjustments, and I eventually got it to about good enough. But hey, that was just the first board. I had better luck with the rest. Once the top is flat, it can be flipped over and passed through again, this time without needing a reference board. And just like that, with over $800 in tools, I turned a $4 board into something usable. Working with scrap or reclaimed wood, especially the kind that looks like it's been through a rough life, is never easy. A lot of people love the idea of it, but in reality, it takes a ton of work to make it look decent. That's probably why most people just buy new wood and call it a day. But when you finally get through those rough, beat up pieces to clean it up and fit together into something unique, there's a certain satisfaction knowing that you brought it back to life. Plus, it's way more fun to say, I made that from junk. Now that everything's the same size, I have to overlay these by 7 inches. I saw online that a good rule of thumb to overlay the joints like I'm doing would be to do twice the width of the wood. So since they're 3.5 inches wide, I'm just gonna overlay them by 7 inches. But I ran into a problem because I was gonna do this with a table saw, but I don't have a miter gauge. I don't know where mine is. I've never used it and I have no idea what I did with it. I can't use my miter saw because I don't have the right type of miter saw. I need a miter saw that like extends out and just cuts straight. Mine just cuts straight down. At least my circular saw or my router. For the router, I have to build a jig, which I don't really want to do. So I'm gonna do it with the circular saw. But I'm gonna try to shave off half of the thickness of these with the circular saw. But I'm gonna try to do all the pieces all at once. To run the circular saw through all the pieces at once, I nail boards around them to hold them in place, and I use hot glue as well. Okay, well, I think that's gonna work. Once I finished marking where I was gonna cut, I made a bunch of closely spaced cuts with the circular saw. Okay, ideally these should come out easily. I think it's working. That's a bug. That was a bug. This is nighttime. I should really have that door closed. Yep, that's what I wanted. And then I can clean that up. Let's do some ASMR. You want to try?
I want to try.
So you kind of want to get this as flat as possible, and then you just kind of hammer it slowly. The goal is to get this as flat as possible. Try not to dig in, so it has to be flat.
Okay.
Because you don't want to dig into the wood. So for those, let me see. I can do this. Either way, probably work.
Okay. Our chisel's gonna kiss.
For some reason, this one did not.
I think this is a harder wood. Does it fit?
Yes, it fits. That glue is stronger than it should be. Oh, there you go. Oh, that's pretty good. Can't complain. Wow.
Aw, our little Tiffany's all grown up and doing joinery.
It's a little rough, but I think it'll work. Like it's gonna do its job. So excited. I sanded the rough spots so that the boards would fit nicely together. I'm gonna glue the joints and let them dry overnight. And then tomorrow I'm gonna drill wooden dowels through it so that they're sturdy. While I was researching joinery, most videos show complicated techniques, which are super cool, but not exactly beginner friendly. And I wanted something simple, which made this the perfect choice. It should be sturdy enough for the workbench legs. And don't worry, once I finish this, it will add to my confidence and I'll be doing Japanese joinery in no time. This whole process of fixing the twist in the wood, cleaning it up, cutting it to size, and doing joinery took me all day. I always underestimate how long a project will take, and I thought I could knock out this workbench in 2 days. But at this point, it was becoming clear that I was going to spend at least 2 more days working on this. It looks like a sawdust bomb went off in here. There's such a mess. Let's see how these came out. It's not perfect, but I'm pretty confident that it'll hold. I'm gonna add wooden dowels through it to reinforce it, but the reason it's not perfect is because of the big gaps. I think it has to do with how I cut it with a circular saw. Nothing really fits flush, so there's some big gaps, but I still think that the strength is there. I cleaned up the glue excess using a chisel. I mark where the wooden dowels are going, and I'm using this thingy-majiggy so I can drill the hole straight. And I'm using blue tape to mark the depth. Eating sawdust is part of the job. Wait. I forgot the glue. Oh. Once I put the dowel in the hole, I cut the excess with the multi-tool and used the hammer to get the dowel all the way in. Get out. No, I don't want you here at all. Get out. After cutting up the excess dowels, I sanded everything smooth, then trimmed the 2x4s to their final size. I have all the legs cut, but I'm wondering if I should plane the sides of it so they look a little cleaner. And since the planer's still out, it's much faster than sanding. Yeah, I convinced myself. I'm planing them. Many of you have recommended mixing sawdust with wood glue to fill gaps. So that's exactly what I'm doing to fill some of the imperfections in this joint. And while I was mixing it, I noticed that sawdust from the circular saw made a much thicker mixture, like oatmeal consistency. But using the finer dust from the sander resulted in a smoother peanut butter-like texture. This was interesting, but I think the sawdust makes a better filler. It's smoother. So the next step is to build the frame that goes on the top and the bottom, and I don't have enough 2x4s or 2x3s to make this happen for both carts, top and bottom. But some of the wood that's taking a lot of space over here is this big piece of plywood that is left over from the closet build that I just did. And then I have like 3 more pieces over here. It all matches. So I'm thinking to rip them to size and then cut them down and build the frame out of that. And I think that's gonna work. I still have to figure out what to do with all these little bitty pieces over here. And I'm thinking to maybe build a top on top of the top that I already have. Because the top that I have is like only 1/2 inch thick. But if I do a glue up of these little pieces, then I can build a thick top. I'm still thinking about that. That's a later problem. Let's deal with the frame. I got tired of walking on a mountain of sawdust, so I did a quick sweep and then I cut the plywood in half because, like I mentioned before, it's easier to work with smaller pieces, especially when running them through the table saw. And then I decided to change the blade because after many wood projects and all the plywood that I cut for the closet, I really needed a new blade. I of course overcomplicated this process by tightening the nut because I can never remember the direction it comes off. Oh, I hate changing blades. Is it this way? How do I know? I am like bending this. Come on. How does, I don't understand how this is not even moving. Not even a fucking little bit, like. Oh, did I get it? Oh, there. Okay, I loosened it, but I was like this. Just giving it all my force and strength, and I've never had issues changing this one. Look at this is, it's crooked, it's twisted. I'm gonna have to order a new one. Great. This was all supposed to be a satisfying montage of me changing the blade. And this has just turned into unnecessary disaster. I gotta dig this out now. It is unplugged, FYI, for me to have my hand all the way down in here. As I dove deeper into this project, I quickly realized that it's all about the little steps. Today I'm ripping wood to size again. Being precise is important, but it's also time consuming, and I spent most of the day sizing the wood. So I was wondering if this workbench would ever come together. If I would have bought the wood at the store, I probably would be close to the finish line, but going through this process will make me appreciate these workbenches so much more, because it will always remind me of the work I put into it. But with that being said, that finish line keeps moving. I feel like I'm creating more scrap wood instead of getting rid of it. I mean, I got rid of a few of the big pieces I had stored up there, but my pile of small scrap wood keeps on growing. So I'm worried about this project not really using a lot of the scrap wood I was hoping to use. Okay, so I gotta build a frame. Wait, is that how it goes? Maybe like this, actually. I'm gonna sit here and think this for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna drill pocket holes and put this together. So I'm building the frame now. I started cutting the pieces to the exact size I needed. Then I realized the top frame needed to be thicker, so I doubled up on the plywood. This will make sense in a bit when I put it all together. This was not part of my original plan, but I'm figuring this out as I go, and sometimes I think of potential problems in the middle of building something, so I try to fix them ahead of time. The reason for the added thickness is that I use clamps a lot, and I need enough surface area on the workbench top for them to grip securely. I realized I forgot to drill the pocket holes before doubling up the plywood. Now the wood is an odd shape and drilling it is a challenge, so I'll just screw the frame together from the outside. Marking the exact spot for each screw is important because 3/4 inch plywood isn't very thick. Drilling in the wrong place can cause the screw to become visible, split the wood, or both. Another way to prevent splitting is by drilling pilot holes before driving the screws. I haven't mentioned yet how I plan to connect these workbenches to create a larger surface. I was inspired by Ben Tardif's design on a video I found on YouTube while I was researching workbenches, so I'm drilling holes in the top frame of each bench to accommodate bolts for joining them together. I really like this idea because I have a small space, but I can't have a big workbench taking most of the room I have left. So having two smaller workbenches that I can put together to make a bigger one seems like the perfect solution. To attach the frame together, I'm using screws, wood glue for extra strength, and this corner clamp to keep it square. I was able to finish the top frames, but the rest I decided to do the next day. Like I said, that finish line kept moving. I have all the frames ready, so now I'm gonna cut the top to its final size and then attach the legs. This whole time I've been saying that these are the top, right? And then I thought about it, and this is very thin. I would like the top to be thicker. So my plan is to get a bunch of scrap wood, glue it together, make a thick top, and I was gonna put the top on top of the top. But that doesn't make sense. Why would I just put a top on top of the top? Have two tops. Why don't I just make one top the right thickness, right? Okay, so I decided that this is not the top anymore. It will now be the bottom. So instead of building the bottom frame with little braces in between, I'm just gonna stick the bottom to it and it'll have a full platform and I'll build the top. Let's just put this at the bottom. It should be the same size if I did everything right. Oh, it's getting heavy. It's getting heavy. I need to flip it. I marked the guideline around the bottom edge to know where all the screws go. Just marking where the wheel's gonna go so that I don't put a screw on there. If you're curious about the screws I'm using, honestly, it's whatever I can find in my shop. Just like I have hundreds of pieces of scrap wood, I have an equally impressive collection of assorted screws. So I just dig through and pick the ones that are the right size for the job. When it comes to repetitive tasks like drilling a bunch of pilot holes into 2x4s to attach them to the frames, I find it helpful to use a template. So to mark all these pilot holes efficiently, I sacrifice my ace of diamonds to create one. I don't have any screws that are long enough other than the pocket screws, so even though these are not pockets, I'm still using pocket screws because they work just as good as anything else. This feels solid. Like, I was nervous about doing like just 2x4s at the legs because a lot of people make them like almost like 4x4s. But this feels pretty good, pretty solid to me. All right, let's see if I can put the top. I might need to do this on the floor. Okay, and this should just fit. Maybe with a little help it will fit. Come on, oops. Looks promising. Huh? It fits? This makes me very happy. Wow! Look at that. Got a workbench. It's upside down, but I built the workbench. I didn't think how I was going to attach the frame, like the top to the frame until now. And I think pocket screws will be easier. But I didn't do it on the other frame and I already have it installed. So, I don't know, I'll figure it out. But let's do pocket screws on these. Since I didn't do the pocket holes before I put this on, and I don't want to take it off, I'm gonna use this little jig over here that also does pocket holes. It's very simple. It's also like economical. Like if you don't want to buy the big jig that I have, you can get one of these and they're pretty cheap. They work just as well. Clamp, ouch. Okay, clamp it. My battery's dying. Great, now I gotta get out again. Oh. Oh. Okay, maybe this one's charged. Done with that. Now that they're built, they're kind of getting in my way, so I'm gonna put the wheel so I can move them around, and then I'll figure out what to do with the top. What do you think? So the holes are 1/2 inch, and these bolts are 3/8, so they're a little bit smaller and they're a little wobbly. I was going to do 1/2 inch holes and 1/2 inch bolts. The problem with that is that if this doesn't line up perfect, the bolt will end up getting stuck. It's just too tight. So I like the smaller one because it gives you that little wiggle room. See, now you can just move freely. I can also do it like that. I can do like an L shape. It's not too big of an L shape, but I couldn't build them too big because otherwise I won't have space in here to move around. And this locks. For the countertop, I basically want to glue up all of my scrap wood and make a top. I think that's going to be the only way I can make a dent on all of those little bitty pieces. The problem, which is the problem I have with all scrap wood, is that it's never long enough. I wish I had a board stretcher. So look at this, barely long enough, barely long enough. Ideally, I would like to make all of the grain running this way because I think it'll look better. All these pieces are little bitties. So I think I'm just gonna do it that way. I can stagger it to make a longer piece, but that's a little bit of a pain. Don't ask me how I know. This is not gonna work. So I want to see if I have enough scrap wood to do this. The next day, I started ripping every piece of scrap wood that was the right size for the workbench, but then I got distracted by my neighbors.
Look who I see over here. Shadow. See, you want some snackies. I see Oreo all the way over there. Oh look, there's like some little ones over there.
I saw a shadow and got sidetracked. I'm gonna keep ripping wood to finish this countertop. I'm having a hard time finding wood that is the right size to be able to like cut it and clamp it all together. After I ripped all the wood, I realized I was halfway short on the second workbench, so I ended up ripping another big piece of plywood I had laying around to make up the rest. Finally, after I had everything cut, I moved all the wood around until I found a pattern I liked. Isn't this the cutest little roller ever? And this is a silicone tray. It's the first time I use it, so I'm excited. Every glue up I've done is super stressful, but I feel prepared this time, so I think it'll be okay. So I'm doing small glue ups first because I need to run these through the planer later, and it's easier that way. If I try to do a big glue up, there's a chance that everything goes wrong. Don't ask me how I know. Oh crap, this piece cannot be taller. See, I told you, it's always stressful. I need a little piece. Because I need to clamp it from the top too. If it's taller, the clamp's not gonna reach. The tape is to avoid the glue into the scrap piece. And the scrap piece is to avoid denting the wood that I'm using for the top. Aye. There you go. Okay, now we're talking. All right, now I can start squeezing. First glue up, done. Now I gotta do 2 more. Well, I gotta do more than that, but I only have so many clamps. Oh no.
What happened?
I messed up my pattern. I put the thing in the wrong place. I don't know if I can fix it. Let me see. Nope. This freaking glue. Unbelievable. I did not know glue works that fast. Yeah. Nope, that didn't happen. I had a pattern going on, and then I just glued this up and realized I messed it up. Now I can't even loosen this one to re-glue it. Come on. Why does this always happen to me? How to not do a glue up.
Step 1. Don't bother paying attention to your pattern at all.
Step 2. Separate everything you just glued. I have to do 2 more. I thought this was gonna go smoothly for once. They're not big enough. Ah! This might be too big. Well, that one worked. Oh my goodness, I don't have space in here. More scrap wood. I don't know what to do with this one. There you go. All right, squeeze, squeeze. I have a feeling one day I'll have this down to a science, but I noticed this one's bowing, which is why I put the clamps at the top. But these clamps are not like all that good. Alright, so I'm gonna release the pressure. Yep. And then maybe if I do it like this and like this. Okay, are you bowing now? Thankfully, the third one went smoothly, but I needed a break after I was done. Oh, the little one came to the side. Oh, here it is. Oh. Look at how cute. Look at that cutie. Hi, Oreo. Are you coming to say hi? Yes, you are. Because she's such a sweetie. Hi, Oreo. You want snackies? I have snackies.
I don't have more snackies. I have to collect more snackies. Oh, look at you. You are not shy. I think I'm gonna call you Chocolate. I don't know about you yet over there, but I'll find a name for you. That's close enough, isn't it? It's okay. I understand.
So while the glue has been drying, I've been modifying this workbench. I added 2 shelves, and the way I did it, I just added scrap wood as cleats over here to hold the shelf and just cut everything to size. And then I drill a little hole here so that it's easy to pull out if I need to. But I like this because if I'm working over here and I have stuff over here and I need to move it out of the way, just put it there, get it back. I am so excited. I can't wait to plane it tomorrow. It's nighttime, so I don't want to plane it today, but I think it's gonna look so good. All right, I'm gonna do the second glue up for tonight. Normally, I let a glue up dry overnight, but I was in a bit of a rush and I didn't want this to turn into a multi-day project. So I let it dry for a few hours before gluing the second top. The next day, I scraped off the excess glue using chisels, and for some reason, I find this so satisfying. After cleaning up, I planed each individual piece until they were all the same thickness. Then I applied wood glue and clamped them down together, this time across the entire width of each top. So while the tops have been drying, I'm modifying the other workbench and I added cleats. I'm only gonna do 1 shelf and then I'm gonna do pegboard here so I can hang, I don't know, a few things. And that's it, just to make it a little bit different. I didn't paint these. These are actually like leftovers from the closet trim. And this was part of the IKEA dressers that I used for the closet. I'm trying to use what I have here, okay? I think it will be kind of cool to have a pegboard section. That way I can hang miscellaneous tools as I'm using the workbench. So I gotta cut the tops to size before I can install them. But, do you see this? I'm using my workbench for the first time. I'm actually gonna cut it on here. I'm gonna clamp it down. So remember that I made the top thicker so that the clamp would fit underneath. See? I think things through sometimes. The workbenches look like they're a little tall, but I built them tall on purpose because when I'm working and I have to look down all the time, looking down and bending hurts my neck and my back. I don't know how tall people do it. You almost have back problems. I broke the top. I think that I either didn't put glue on this strip or didn't put enough glue. When I drilled the screws through, it just popped off. It's an easy fix though. I'm just gonna glue it back. That should fix it, hopefully, but great. Maybe attaching the tops with pocket screws wasn't the best idea. It seemed like when I drilled them, if the screw hit the glue seam, it would push the wood out. Since I haven't overcomplicated this workbench enough, I thought that adding some sort of edge banding to the front would look better, so I gathered every piece of thin wood I could find and glued them to the front. I also re-glued the piece that came off. I think that part of the problem is that I didn't clean every piece properly before the glue up, and I've been sort of rushing on this project, but at least I know what happens when I skip steps. The final touches included filling holes with wood putty, sanding the top smooth, and sealing the workbenches with polyurethane. Despite some challenges, this was a really enjoyable project. I love building the workbenches, and there's a great sense of satisfaction in knowing that I repurposed wood that would have been tossed or burned. I think they turned out great. I didn't spend anything on wood or screws since I already had them, and the only cost was the casters and bolts, which was less than $60. For that price, I have 2 new workbenches that I can rearrange to fit my space and projects. I didn't solve my scrap wood problem though. In fact, I think I made it worse. Every time I cut a piece, I ended up with even smaller scraps. But at least now I have storage under the workbenches to keep them organized. A huge thank you to all the members and patrons for your support, and I will see you all on the next video.